students breathe down your neck. That is the block party.
Hudson finishes off Kentucky.
Purdue gets to celebrate. They take down number 3.
And the Boilers have done it. They advance to the Sweet 16 for the 5th time.
Welcome back to the Dig City Podcast, brought to you by Franciscan Health, the official medical care provider of Purdue Athletics. I'm Corey Palm. He's head coach Dave Shondell, and we are here to talk about the Boilermakers. We're going to burn through a lot of interesting stuff today. I think the second half of the show will be very fascinating for our viewers and listeners. The first half, we're going to talk about results and preview a little bit the coming week, and then we'll get into some more wide-ranging national stuff. And it's November, so the tournament's right around the corner.
Yeah,
never too early to talk about that.
it's getting very interesting now this time of year. Things are starting to take a little bit of shape when you start looking at the tournament and who might be in and who may not be in, and people are starting to look at potential seeds for the tournament and things like that. So it's interesting. We're hanging in there.
Yep.
I really feel like it's been a good year. And I look at how we're playing right now and the progress we're making and what's getting done in practice and some of the development that I'm seeing. So I'm pretty excited about where we are.
That's good. That's good. Well, a lot to be excited about last week. That East Coast trip we talked about, the Maryland Rutgers swing. From this layperson's perspective, a couple hundred miles away, doesn't look like things could have gone much better.
Yeah, I felt like we played really well. We were coming off. I think we were coming off a loss, weren't we, to Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, yep.
In Mackey, and then you're going to play two teams that don't look quite like Wisconsin does, but are still well coached and programs that are working every bit as hard as anybody else. But that trip, as you know, Corey, has always been a grind.
It is, yeah.
You're playing teams that everybody thinks you're supposed to go in there and beat, and that's not as easy as it appears. Trust me on that. Mm-hmm. And Maryland has been very competitive with us over the course of time. They have a lot of veteran players on their roster. I think they've got 4 fifth-year kids that have been starting, it seems like forever, at Maryland. And so I was very concerned about them. And, fortunately we played well in about every aspect against them, and we got the win in 3. Mm-hmm. I don't think it wasn't easy. And I was never very relaxed, but more relaxed than normal, I think. And our team just is playing well, and I have a lot of confidence in them at this point in time. And then we go to Rutgers, and that's usually the grind of all grinds, because I'm just being fair. That's just one you can't afford to lose.
Right.
And teams have lost there. Minnesota lost there a year ago. I think maybe Indiana lost there a year ago. And it's not one you want to put on your tab. So you're always wanting to be good enough to win, and our squad just played really well.
Lights out.
I think it was one of our best matches of the year. Mm-hmm. Now you'll say, well, you're playing so-and-so or whatever. Well, you know when you play well, and in that environment, good crowd at Rutgers, very good crowd at Rutgers. I think they had all the state senators were out for whatever reason.
Okay.
They came out to watch the women's volleyball. But it was a really good performance by our people, and defensively we were off the chart. Offensively, I think it was the best hitting percentage maybe since 2017 or something along those lines. Our outstanding communications director provided that information to me. I didn't know that till after the match, but still, I thought it was a good weekend. And we come back 2-0 and had a lot of people play well.
There's a lot to be said for taking care of business. Like you said, there are 2 matches. You look at the standings, you look at the results, you look at the rosters. There are 2 matches you should win. You know that going in. To go out there and do it, and to not drop a set. To play really sharp on the second half of a back-to-back is tough to do. You had travel. You got in after 1 a.m. And to New Jersey, which means everybody's got to sleep a little late because rest is important, and that throws off the whole schedule. So to come out sharp, to put some numbers on, like you said, 424 on the night, just 8 hitting errors.
Yeah, let me give credit to John Klanick, Michael Burrill, Ben Catrone, Kathy Jewell, even our grad assistant, Owen Mahim. These people are working really, really hard. And when you have less than 20 hours of a turnaround to get ready for another Big Ten team, that work has to be done well in advance.
Right.
We're not all of a sudden opening up the video and starting to watch them, Saturday morning. A lot of that work has already been done. And this group is doing a tremendous job. I'm really happy with what they're providing for our team and how they're going about doing it, and now how well our team is taking that information and embracing that, and then following that game plan as we go into the competition. And early on, I thought there were some matches where we didn't do a very good job of that. But again, kind of a new staff. Michael Burrell's 25 years old, I think. Maybe he's older than that. I think he is older than that. I think Ben Catrone might be 25. Michael might be.
They're all 25.
They're all young.
Yeah.
They're all young. And then, John's been on our staff for less than a year.
Yeah, right.
At this point, maybe about 9 months. And so it's a lot of new things, being thrown around and new people doing it. And so I think it's a credit to them that they've develop those relationships with our players, that they trust them and believe in them.
Absolutely. And you won't say this, but I'll go ahead and do it. A credit to you as well to figure out how that new staff meshes and to play to people's strengths, figure out what those are, and manage situations.
Yeah, and we've made some adjustments as it's gone. When we first started, we had 3 people standing up the whole time, giving information and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden we said, I don't think that's the best look for us.
Seems a bit frantic.
Yeah, and so we sat people down, and then I told John, who's really a great guy, John Klanick, played at Ohio State, won a national championship, and has been an assistant coach at Rice for about 5 years before he came here. And he had a little iPad he was putting a lot of information on, but was just sitting there the whole time, and I didn't feel like he's a kind of our defensive guy. And I didn't feel like our players were on top of what they were supposed to be doing, because I'd sat him down, and now he's not giving information. So I told him to stop dilly-dallying around with that iPad, and I need him up making sure our blockers understand what their responsibilities are, and being a little more active. And so that was at Rutgers. Well, just so happened we were really good at Rutgers. And I think that's so you just got to make adjustments as the season goes on, not just with your players, but everybody involved in your program has to make adjustments to get better and make sure that the product you're putting on the floor is what you want.
And that's the thing about 20 plus years in the job and 40 plus years in the profession.
Yeah.
If you're not constantly getting better, then you're getting worse.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard that before. So we turn our attention to this week, another long week. The nice thing about that Friday, Saturday back-to-back is you get Sunday.
Yeah.
And then you go into this weekend where you've got Friday, Sunday matches, so you get another full week of practice.
I can't tell you how great it was yesterday to go into a practice and not feel like you're being rushed from one drill to the next, and you can't stop and teach. And so last night I felt like I was actually doing more coaching than I've done all year, because I had the time.
Yeah.
There wasn't a rush. We weren't getting ready to play somebody in 2 days. We're playing somebody we've already played once, so that helps. The only 3 teams this season we're going to play twice: Indiana, Penn State, and Rutgers. Okay, so when you play them the second time, it's not like it's easy, but you have prepared for them once already, and I don't think any of these teams are going to change dramatically, just like we're not going to change dramatically from one time we play Indiana to the next. So it was really more of a chance to just talk about some of the basic things, team defense, blocking, what we're trying to do, what we're looking for across the net when we serve the ball, and a lot of different things. So it was a really good practice from my standpoint, that we weren't just trying to, how fast can we get through this drill so we can get to the next one, because we got to cover this, and then we got to cover this, we got to do this. Instead, it was just, let's just go at our own pace and make sure we get the things done we need to get done.
That's nice to be actually, for a coach to be able to coach.
Yeah.
Those are the little things that really fill you up inside, because this job is so much more. It's worrying about X, Y, and Z, and having to be in this place at this time, and
Interviews,
podcasts. People like me, just vampires like me, stealing minutes out of your day. To be able to coach is a relief.
Yeah, it's good practice.
That's good. The Hoosiers, like you said, we've seen them once before. Took care of them pretty handily here in Mackey a couple weeks ago. That was also one of the better matches your team has played this year statistically.
That was an anomaly.
Yeah,
was what that was.
They're much better than that.
They are, and when you watch them on tape since then and before then, and even they did some things in that match that were pretty good. As I was watching that tape this morning before I came over here, just to make sure I could see what were we doing against them that they're going to look at and different things. But this is a good team. This is a veteran team with one of the best setters really in the country, certainly in the Big Ten. Great libero, an outside hitter who's climbing the ladder and kills per in the history of the program over there. A right side player that may be their go-to player, and middles that are getting better. And they're a really good team. They've won 3 in a row now. I think we beat them, and then they lost to a good Wisconsin team, and then they've won 3 in a row since then. And going down to Wilkinson Hall, I believe it is called. Is that right?
I believe that is
look
correct.
that one
Yep.
up again.
That's
I
right.
think it's Wilkinson Hall. The nice people that made a generous donation to build that volleyball wrestling facility there. Really nice place to play. Holds, I think, about 3,000, standing room only there. But we've enjoyed going down there to that facility. I think Bloomington's a beautiful place. My wife was born there, so I don't mind going to Bloomington. I don't have any problem at all with that. And but it will be a different scenario this year than what we saw when we had 15,000 people packed inside Mackey Arena a couple weeks ago. And we know that, they know that. It's like all bets are off at this point.
For sure. You said that was been sold out for a few weeks, which tends to make us believe that it's probably going to be a pro IU crowd, as it should be.
Yeah.
They got you down there last year,
They
and
did.
they know that
Yeah.
as well as you do. That it's not the invincible Purdue squad that's won 20-something straight matches coming in.
No, they played really well against us last year. It was early in the Big Ten season, if I remember correctly. You probably do.
It was.
And we had a lot of young pups on the floor, and I'm sure they did too. Don't get me wrong, but they were ready for us, and they played really well, and the crowd was, I'm sure, a factor. But more than that, their team was just better than we were on that particular night. And again, we have tremendous respect for Indiana. Steve is doing a really good job of bringing in talent and coaching them up, and I think his staff, probably the best staff that he has ever had in the time that I've watched what's going on at IU. So we're going to lace them up tight on Friday night, I can promise.
For sure. IU's coming in currently 11th in the Big Ten, and they're fighting for their postseason lives. So
They have a lot to play for.
Yeah.
And again, you say 11th in the Big Ten, and to the average fan, you think, oh, that's not very good. Well, break it down. I could break it down for you, but
Yeah.
11th in the Big Ten isn't all that bad, and it might get them in the NCAA tournament.
it's when the top 2 teams are top 3 in the country, and the third best team's Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So okay, that's Friday night. You'll come back home. You'll take on Michigan on Sunday afternoon on Big Ten Plus, and that's a team that's been maybe the surprise in the Big Ten. They're currently 6-6 in the conference, 16-7 overall, and they seem to have turned a corner from what they've been in previous seasons.
Yeah, they had a tough year last season, and I think that people kind of thought that might be more of the same this year when they made their preseason prognostications, because they were not picked very high in the Big Ten. But since then, they have shown their worth. They've got 2 really good athletes in the middle. They got a right side player, foreign player, that's got as good of an arm as there is in the league. She's not huge. She's probably 6 foot, ½ inch, but she has a cannon of an arm that she uses both to attack and to jump serve. Might be the best jump top spin server in our league.
Okay.
She really
Tough to handle.
brings it. Really brings it hard. Now their best left side hitter, a kid named Jacobs, who's having a great year, hurt her ankle last weekend against Indiana. Did not play this past weekend, so I don't know what her status will be. She's a tremendous ball control player. She's kind of their version of, Eva Hudson type of a player. But they've got a good team, and they're feeling pretty good about themselves. And I think they're right in the middle of the pack, upper half somewhere in the Big Ten. But they have struggled a little bit lately. They've played some really good teams as of late, and that's when I look at these schedules and you look at teams. Records even today don't mean that much, because you haven't really played the full gauntlet of teams yet.
True.
And you may have played, maybe your record's not that good, but you've been playing a bunch of heavy hitters. Or maybe your record looks really good, but you've been playing some of the teams toward the bottom. So it's still too early really to dictate how this thing's going to finish up. But I do know that Michigan is considerably better. They've got some really good arms, some really good athletes. And, of course, their coach is Aaron Virtue was with the USA national team as the kind of their offensive coordinator, team that just finished, silver medal. Andy Drews was on that team, so they're well coached.
That's good. That's Sunday afternoon in Holloway. Need those home fans to bring it. It's been, it's been a week and a half or so since you guys have played inside Holloway.
Only have 4 more home matches.
That's hard to believe.
4 left on the docket.
Yeah.
This one obviously. And then we come back with 2 more, I think. Rutgers, followed by maybe Illinois.
Rutgers, Illinois, and USC.
And then USC.
Yep.
That's all we have left. So we hope that our fans will come out and celebrate what's left.
Absolutely. Look forward to that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the national scene and where things sort of sit right there. Stick with us. The Dig City Podcast is brought to you by Franciscan Health, the official medical provider of Purdue Athletics. At Franciscan, we are inspiring health. Now back to the show. The latest AVCA poll comes out this week and finds your Boilermakers up a couple spots to 9th. I know that's like a lot of media polls, a lot of coaches polls. They're fun to talk about. They don't mean a whole lot. Necessarily when it comes to postseason and seeding.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure why they don't, because when you look at probably the biggest poll of all is that football deal. What's it called?
The AP poll for football, or the college football
one
playoff?
The old timers sit around and figure out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And that one means probably more than anything, right? But
does.
that's a bunch of former coaches, okay, that are determining who the best teams in the country are. They're not looking at an RPI or whatever else.
Some mathematical equation.
They're figuring out who the best teams are. And so I always wonder why, when there's 60 coaches that have been chosen to make out this AVCA poll, that it gets tossed aside like an old bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
And so first of all, the bucket of chicken would probably not have a lot in it if it was old. But
not if it's in my house.
That probably wasn't what I was looking for when I came up with that. But anyway, I think it should have more merit than what it really gets. But yeah, I think we're in the top 10 and been right around there most of the season. The Massey poll, which is another one of the mathematically generated polls, has us at 12. But then you go to the RPI, and it has us in the 20s.
Yeah, 24 this week.
And I'm trying to figure that one out. Well, what happened was we are much better than that until we won 2 matches.
Makes total sense, right?
Problem was the 2 teams that we beat, their collective records weren't that strong, and so we absorb those records into part of that formula. And and we're going to play Rutgers again, so we're going to absorb that. Now the rest of the run should be fine because we're playing teams whose records are better, and you shouldn't get hurt too much by that. And but you can't control everything. I can't control how many matches these other teams are going to win. I can control who we try to schedule during non-conference, but not conference. And so it's like the year, whenever it was, I don't know what year it was, that we finished, I think, 6th in the Big Ten, and we didn't make the NCAA tournament because a lot of the teams we played in non-conference had bad years, even though they were really good the year before that. And then some of the teams we played in conference play, we played twice against an Iowa and a Rutgers and somebody else, and those numbers really hurt us. And so they looked at the RPI and they said, well, this team's not good enough because their RPI is not good enough.
Even then, totally point well taken. But if you look at your non-conference this year, you played Creighton, who's 5th in RPI. You played Kansas, who's 10th in RPI. You played Utah, who's 16th. You played Kentucky, who's 12th.
Yeah.
You weren't ducking anybody. You
no,
went out and
we
scheduled
we played a monster schedule,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Now, maybe they're all not doing quite as well as you thought.
Wow.
Kansas State has struggled, but they're starting to right their ship, and hopefully they'll continue to do that as it goes on. But again, all you can do is go out and try to be as good as you can be, and then they throw you into the draw. You got to play well. So that's the plan.
That is the plan. I know we've mentioned this before on the show, and you've pointed out that at some point you need to win some more top 10 matches. But the fact that your 5 losses are to teams ranked in the top 8, I mean that goes a long way to proving how solid this team has been.
Well, I think it depends on what those losses look like. And we have beaten some pretty good teams too.
Yes.
Kentucky's a really good team, and people are going to see that as this season progresses. Minnesota ranked 13th in the country. I thought that was a massive win when we went up on the road and beat them.
Agreed.
Went to Utah and beat Utah, who I think is ranked maybe 23rd, somewhere along that line. This I may be off by 1. You'll correct me, I'm sure, if I am.
Utah is currently 23. You were
Okay.
right. 17-5 on the year.
And really, in my opinion, some other good team. Anytime you beat UCLA, Ohio State, even though they may not be faring well in what is the best conference in the country, doesn't mean they're not a really good team. So the nights we played them, I thought UCLA in particular was really good. But I wanted to talk a little bit about those 5 matches that we lost, because there's a common theme with several of those teams, Nebraska not being necessarily included. Nebraska, age-wise, is similar to us.
Right.
They have a really good sophomore class. They have a few more seniors, a few more veteran players than we do, but it's not a big stretch to look at our 2 teams and think they're cut from similar cloth as far as experience. But when you look at Kansas, who was the first team we lost to, no 5th-year seniors, but a lot of seniors, a lot of veteran players in their lineup. And then you go to Creighton. Creighton's got, I think, 4 5th-year seniors that have start on that team. We got 0, by the way. We don't have any 5th-year players on our roster. And then you get to Penn State, which has 3 of their top players are in their 5th year. And I'm not saying that to make an excuse. I'm saying what we have to do is, during the time we have left, we have to gain that kind of experience and knowledge and toughness and savvy that when we play those people again, that it's going to be a different scenario. And again, when we played Kansas, those were, I think, the 3 sets we lost were two-point losses. Almost the same thing with Creighton.
Yep.
So we didn't get bombarded by those people. Kansas on the road, Creighton on what's supposed to be a neutral floor,
Right.
but they had a huge crowd there in Lawrence, Kansas, that had come from Omaha. And we just weren't playing that well at that point in time. There's 3 of those matches that we played almost in succession. Tulsa was in between. Well, we just didn't play very well, and that's my fault. That's our team's fault. Okay. Outside of that, the only match that I would throw out would be the Wisconsin match, and that was that second Mackey match. And I think the emotion may have caught up with them, and they wanted to beat us worse, and we wanted to beat them on that particular night. So I think that my point I'm making is we've got some maturity to still grow into, some toughness, figure a few more things out. But as I've said earlier in the show, I like the direction we're going.
Yeah.
And I think our fans will be happy with what they're going to see as this season continues to unfold.
You talk about the youth of this team, and that's a good entry to talk about the sophomore class, where they're at. It's a big group.
Yeah.
When you throw in the red shirts as well,
Yeah.
it's a big group, and they've been a huge part of the success this year. How are they doing in year 2 or 3?
Yeah. Well, they say sometimes that the sophomore year is a really tough year, because freshman year everything's new and shiny, and then second year all of a sudden you got to come and practice every day, and expectations are higher on you, and everybody doesn't look at you the same way. But they've been fantastic.
Yeah.
Start with Lizzie Carr, who's a redshirt sophomore. Right now, she's just coming into her own, and I keep pushing her really hard. Because I know where she can get to. And, sometimes when people are making progress, they say, why is the coach jumping my case all the time? Well, because I know where they can go.
Yeah, I'm
And
doing well.
I
What's
know where
going
they
on?
need to get.
Right.
I know where they have to get to for us to win a championship, or for us to do something we've never done before. And she is really starting to shine in both the middle and the right side roles, where she's going to continue to play more and more as this season goes. Chloe Chacoin, I'm so impressed with her. comes in highly touted, has a great freshman year, could easily have been the freshman of the year in the Big Ten, got nudged out by Harper Murray from Nebraska, who certainly was as deserving.
Sure, 101A there.
As well, yeah. But then she comes back this year, and even though her offensive numbers may not be quite as good, and again, the competition has something to do with that. You're targeted now a little bit more than maybe you were before, but the rest of her game is off the chart right now. Her serve receive is gone to a totally new level, and that's one of the things we've talked to her about. You know, this is something you can control here. Maybe offensively people are loading up on you a little bit, and it's not your night, you know, all the time. But the passing, the defense, the serving, what you bring to our team, I just think she's been fantastic, and we're trying to get her in the pattern more. It used to be she was in the serve receive pattern maybe 4 times, and we said that's kind of silly. Okay, she's passing as well as anybody in America. Let's get her in the pattern a little bit more, and we have. We got Kenna Woolard, who's had a breakout season. You know, people now are starting to pay more attention to her, so she's going to have to get better and hit some different shots and see the block a little bit better, because for a while their focus was elsewhere. Now all of a sudden she's, you know, was hitting about 275, and so people thought we better pay a little more attention to her. But what a great season she has. She brings so much quickness and athletic ability into our lineup that it's changed things in a real positive way for us. You've got the setter, Taylor Anderson, who's, you know, been a talk of a lot of the media as well as she's playing, both from a blocking standpoint, getting better offensively, running the show, feeling a lot more comfortable. Again, though, I know how much better she can become.
Yeah.
I know how much better she needs to be
I see that.
for us, and how she needs to take charge of this team. I keep telling her that. You know, her personality from the outside looks like somebody that's, you know, very, very quiet, but yet she competes, and she's just got to find ways in her mannerisms to make sure that everybody understands what's going on with that team. And I know I've got the serving specialist who's been playing out of her mind right now. Doesn't get in for a lot, but that's a tough role. When you come in as a serving specialist, and a lot of times she'll come in for Raven Colvin, who's a good server, and so you know, well, if I'm coming in for Raven, I better make sure I serve it pretty tough. And she does, time after time after time, and then she can also make some defensive plays. She probably has improved as much as anybody on our team from last year to this year, and I think that's
it, aside from Grace.
Well, Grace Heaney, who's out this year and will redshirt, and so she'll actually become she'll be a redshirt sophomore next year. So she'll still have 3 more years to play for us. So I think that's that class. But that's a class that has certainly made our program better. Doesn't mean the rest of the players aren't doing the same thing, because they are. Our left sides are playing really well right now, and everybody knows it's a great tandem. But what makes them special, in my opinion, is right here, the heart. How hard they play, how tough they compete, how much this team means to them. And then they do everything. They're do-everything players.
Yeah.
They're attackers. They're blockers. They're great defensive players. Our middle back play has been tremendous this year. It is so difficult for teams to put balls on the floor against this team. The biggest factor is those 2 middle back players that are involved in so much are just making tons of plays, and that's fun, because that's what I want to see. That's the kind of team I want to be, where we're just going to, you know, play with so much toughness and keep balls off the floor. And we know how well Allie Horning's playing. You know, was the defensive player of the week this past week, and just digs balls like nobody's business. Just a natural. She's a natural defensive player. And then great middle back now with Chloe and Eva. And then the right back play was a little bit of a headache for a while, but new player in that spot with Ryan McAleer playing right back, coming in for whoever's our opposite player. But now she's digging everything. She's digging every ball that is hitting her area. And then Taylor Anderson, who, when you're a setter, you've got so much to focus on.
Yeah.
But now she is figuring it out. She's showing some great discipline. So now it's just hard to put a ball on the floor against us.
Taylor's making some great decisions defensively. She's there with the block.
Yeah.
She's making, you know, she's getting a little bit more aggressive with her attack, it seems like, taking opportunities.
And the block was the one thing that we didn't do as well. I thought this past weekend, especially against Maryland.
Right. Actually, they outblocked you guys.
Yeah, that will be a big focus as this week continues.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time on it last night, and we will for the rest of this week to get ready for 2 really good teams.
Boilermakers at IU on Friday night, and I'm getting the information on that. That one is live on the Big Ten Network at 7 p.m. Friday night. No, my mistake. I was looking at the wrong IU match. That one was on the network. This one's on Big Ten Plus. Still starts at 7 p.m.
Well, that's hard to believe.
Yeah.
With that match, full house at Wilkinson Hall, Indiana and Purdue. That's not a linear TV
right
situation. Must be a great match on that night.
Must be a great match on. Plus basketball season's kicking in. So
yeah, that's true.
There's fewer hours broadcast wise.
A lot going on is what you're saying.
For sure.
Yeah.
Big Ten Plus, both matches this weekend at IU Friday at 7, and then Sunday at 1 o'clock against Michigan. Coach,
TV has been very, very good to our volleyball programs.
Cannot complain about it.
Okay, so we're not complaining about it. We're going to be on probably 15 times this year, it seems like. So it's been great, and it's what really has changed the Big Ten volleyball, has been all that publicity, notoriety, viewership that we're getting. It's why the majority of every player and players in the country want to come play in the Big Ten. So we're very thankful for the Big Ten.
It's the place to be. I'm happy they're coming to the Big Ten, but
Yeah.
they just need to come to Purdue.
Well, we're getting our fair share.
I know.
Can't talk about them.
Can't talk about it. Got a little bit.
But we've got, that won't be too long before that really large, we have a really large incoming class that we'll be able to talk about here.
Signing day
very
for
soon.
25, I think.
It's in November
next
sometime.
week, yeah.
So we're excited about that group, and we'll have a show, maybe an extended show
Yeah.
to talk about them.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. Boiler up.